I'll give you a sign. And that means get your energy level up again. So don't die out on me.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Jae Kim. Today I'm going to introduce my presentation, which is America and Korean Thanksgiving Day. Here is my table of content. I will introduce introduction, American Thanksgiving Day, Korean Chuseok, comparison, message, and conclusion. Did you know that every year the United States President save a turkey as a traditional event on Thanksgiving? And did you know that the first Chuseok celebrated in Silla Kingdom period? Both Thanksgiving and Chuseok have meaningful traditional, but they express gratitude and different love in ways. First, let's look at American Thanksgiving Day first. People give thanks for family, God, food, and the blessings of the year. It is celebrated on the fourth Thursday of November. Common activities include watching football and the massive Thanksgiving Day parade. Traditional foods include turkey, pumpkin pie, and mashed potatoes, and more. Now, on the other hand, Korean Thanksgiving, which is Chuseok, focuses on family gathering, special foods such as sungtan, and honoring ancestors. It is celebrated on 15th day of the lunar August month. They usually play traditional games such as yunori or watching 시름. Traditional foods include songpyeon, jeon, and even galbijjim. Now let's see how their histories differ. In 1620, the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts, seeking for religious freedom. But, however, their first winter was brutal and extremely harsh. Therefore, many pilgrims died from cold, hunger, and even disease. But fortunately, the Native America, who were Wangpang Noa people, helped them survive. Especially one of the Wangpang Noa member, Squanto, taught them how to plant corn, catch fish, and even live in the new circumstances. Therefore, by fall of 1621, the Pilgrims eventually had enough food and harvest. To celebrate this, the Pilgrims held a 3-day feast with Wangpang Noa people. This is considered the beginning of Thanksgiving. On the other hand, the origin of Chuseok comes from a traditional event called Kabe. During the Silla Kingdom period under King Yuri, women from across the country were gathered and placed into 2 teams. They held a months-long weaving competition and until the 50th day of the lunar August month. The winner team was celebrated, dance, food, and festivities provided by the losing team. This tradition eventually developed into today's Chuseok. Thanksgiving Day reminds us appreciate what we have and support from others. Both holidays encourage generosity, sharing resources, and recognizes one's hard work. In conclusion, both Thanksgiving and Chuseok teach us the same lesson. We need to appreciate what we have, remember people who support us, and share what we can with others. These values are what create families and community strong. Let me finish this quote. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Thank you. I got the questions. All right. Thank you.
Okay, next person, get ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before starting my presentation, I have one question for everyone. Do you have a dream?
Yes.
What is your dream?
That's a big question. To make a meaningful change in the world.
Do you have something that you really want to accomplish? Think about it. Everyone knows that our dreams cannot be realized automatically. Whether it is a small dream or an enormous one, it requires our time, sometimes money, and effort. So, if you wish for your dreams to come true, you must know about greed, which is essential for accomplishing our dreams. Today I will explain the meaning of greed, the importance of it, and the way to get it. According to the definition of greed by Angela Duckworth, a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, greed is the combination of passion, perseverance for long-time goals. What does greed matters? The formula says that talent multiplied by effort creates skill, and skill multiplied by effort creates achievement. First of all, this formula means that talent is just the starting point. The level of skill you develop depends on how much effort you invest. Also, sustaining effort eventually leads to achievement. Particularly, these formulas emphasize effort twice. So, you can see that effort is a crucial factor for our successful results. Moreover, you should know that talent is only potential. If you do not put in some effort, talent becomes useless. I hope you realize that you have potential that can only be rebuilt through effort. So remember that talent counts once, but effort counts twice. Do you want to develop greed? Do you want to become a greedy person? Some people may doubt themselves, and some people think they cannot do this. Staying greedy is hard. For achievement, it demands tremendous effort and experiencing many failures. So there are some tips according to the book written by Angela Duckworth. First, make your interest clear. Pursuing passion is the popular message of graduation, but sometimes some people don't feel a clear passion yet in their hearts. Especially for those who don't have a dream or go for yet, listen carefully. You must start at the first, so find your interest. Think about it. What do you find yourself thinking about most often? When do you enjoy? And what is the most important thing for you? On the other hand, what is something difficult that you're still willing to endure? Asking yourselves like those questions helps you find your interest and leads to pursuing your passion. Second, practice in a qualitatively different way. According to the research of Anders Ericsson, a psychologist, some people who are famous experts worldwide, such as Olympic athletes, pianists, chess grandmaster, and more, gradually have improved their technique. As much as it improved, the pace of improvement is slowed. This applies to everyone. This graph shows that the process of developing technique takes for a long time. You need not only a large amount of practice, but also high quality practice. That is called conscious practice. It is setting a challenging goal and focusing on specific parts of the technique. Experts try to improve weakness, not their strength. They deliberately struggle at a high level. They wanted to receive feedback and accept it right after. Like this, practice wisely makes us keep greedy. Third, have a greater purpose. One of the sources of passion is interest, and the other is the purpose, which is the intention to contribute to other people's happiness. The core of purpose is that our task is significant for people, not just to ourselves. People generally consider that desire is more important regardless how much greed they have. On the other hand, people with higher greeds prefer valuable more than other people. It means that greedy people know that their ultimate purpose is closely related to the world. There are some exceptions, such as Joseph Stalin or Adolf Hitler. They absolutely have a strong will. Therefore, positive purpose is not a necessary condition for greed. However, according to the materials of Angela Duckworth, interest is not only important, but having relationship with others and desire to help them is also extremely important. Think about the moment you overcome your hardship that couldn't you go through. Maybe there is something related to the other people. Last, hope. The way to teach hope to ourselves is to have a growth mindset. Let's do a quick check using this picture. What is your What is your mindset? And fixed mindset makes us feel negative in our hardship and leads to avoid and give up challenging moments. In contrast of it, growth mindset helps us interpret our hardships obstinately and result in becoming a stronger person through the behavior that pursue new challenges with tenacity. So try to reframe the way you think about your abilities and talents. I trust that grit is not only essential for our academic success. In our lives, grit can help us achieve various goals and make our dreams come true. I hope you do not blame your environment, abilities, and IQ. Don't limit the potential that can be rebuilt through the power of grit. Although you have an unusual talent, you cannot rely on talent only because your talent cannot be achieved without effort. Lastly, we are a people who will change the world, right? So just develop grit and you will become an irreplaceable and powerful person in the world. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Can you tell us a little bit about how would you apply grit into your life?
During preparing this presentation, I think that grit can be helped for me a lot. So I'm going to apply grit in my life to study for a long time for my future, not university, not my future company. For my future, I will study a lot through grit.
Okay, we'll pause a little bit while Kathy gives a
Hello everyone, my name is Jongno-gu, and today I am going to talk about unique Italian cooking techniques. So the first cooking technique that I wanted to introduce is mantecatura. Mantecatura is the process of adding cold butter and cheese at the end of cooking. Result. This step amplifies the liquids and fats, giving the dish its signature creamy texture. Mantecatura, the origin of the word, is from northern Italy. It is considered a crucial step in making authentic result. So the technique relies on emulsification. Cold butter melts slowly, combining with the starch in the rice. This creates a smooth and cohesive texture. So these are the scientific points. Mantequatra makes risotto richer, smoother, and more flavorful. It gives the final dish glossy and appealing finish. To perform mantequatra, cook your risotto properly, remove it from heat, then add butter and cheese while stirring quickly to create the creamy effect. So, other unique cooking techniques. Second one is sauce burrito, and third one is quadralet. So it's sauce burrito is foundation for complex dishes, including soups, sauce, stews, races, and risottos. And it is also essential starting point for almost every soup cooking. The third one is quadralet, and it allows to melt and proteins to break down gently. It develops deep, intense flavors and create incredibly tender, succulent textures, especially for meats. It also helps retain more vitamins, minerals, and moisture. It also works well for tough meats, like making some soups. It can be also done in traditional forms. Thank you.
Ask for questions. Do you have any questions on the topic?
Do you have any questions?
Okay. Next.
Hello everyone, my name is Lee. Today I'm going to talk about Korea's high suicide rate. This is my table of contents. I will give an introduction first and talk about 8 specific suicide rates. After that, I will talk about mainly 2 causes of suicide. And lastly, I will give you an examples of policies that can prevent suicide. Do you know which country has the highest suicide rate? As you can see in this slide, South Korea is the country with the highest suicide rate. According to the statistics, South Korea has achieved remarkable economic growth, yet its life satisfaction ranks among the lowest in the OECD. The average number of suicide is around 40 people per day in South Korea. This is the list of 8 specific suicide rates. Compared to the early 2000s, the overall suicide rate increased sharply. For example, from about 13.6 per 100,000 people in 2000 to about 31.2 in 2010. This increase was particularly pronounced among middle-aged and older adults, those in their 50s and 60s and above. As you can see in this list, 40s, 50s, and 60s has the highest presented. Now let's talk about the economic hardship, which is one of the causes of suicide. Many people are struggling with unemployment and threat to livelihood. The prime example can be the 1997's IMF and the 2008 global financial crisis, which is the time when the Korea suicide rate sharply rising. Second is poverty and social stigma. Poverty often carries social stigma. And lastly, the limitations of the social safety net. While unemployment benefit and debt settlement programs exist, many fail to utilize them due to limited accessibility or concerns about stigma. For people experiencing economic difficulties, a complex intervention that integrates psychological counseling and financial support is essential. According to one study, between 1986 and 2005, the male suicide rate increased by approximately 98% from 15.2 to 30.3 per 100,000 people. The female suicide rate also increased by 124% from 5.8 to 13 per 100,000 people. This period marked a period of both economic development and crisis in Korea, and thus the economic changes and the increase in suicide rates are partially linked. Overall, between 1986 and 2005, about 105% of suicide rate increased due to economic hardship. This is the second cause of suicide, personal difficulties. Many people die due to stresses, commit suicide due to stresses. As you can see in this graph, people commit suicide due to appearance, health issues, academic achievement, friends, teachers, household economy, and parents. Individuals are constantly exposed to these stresses and pressures. The second is depression and anxiety. Depression and anxiety disorders are among the most significant personal challenges. Approximately 70 to 90% of suicide victims in Korea suffered from mental illness such as depression. This graph shows personal difficulties such as depression and anxiety have determinantly affected people to commit death. These are the examples that policies that can prevent suicide. First is education and awareness raising policies. Education and awareness raising are important strategies for changing social attitudes towards suicide. Schools should systematically implement stress management and emotional expression education. Second, crisis intervention and response system. The establishment and advancement of a crisis intervention system is essential as an emergency response device to prevent actual suicide attempts. Lastly, strengthen social networks. The policy of strengthening social networks is a key structure that can prevent suicide. In conclusion, South Korea's high suicide rate is a complex structural problem that cannot be explained solely by individual psychological difficulties. Economic instability, social isolation, lack of mental health services, stigma, and a rapidly changing social structure all intertwine to increase the risk of suicide. Addressing these issues requires a comprehensive approach that goes beyond simply managing crisis to strengthening the overall safety net and creating an environment where mental health is a part of everyday life. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Any questions? Thank you. Oh, yes.
Thank you for your presentation, Luhi. I have one question. Would there be any civil or religious approach for the solution of the suicide rate other than policy standard approach? What do you think?
As a Christian, I will suggest people to read Bible and know the purpose of their own life, which is a present of God that God gave to us. So I will recommend them to meet God first in their life, and I think that's the most important policy or thing that they should do to not commit suicide.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to present about one of the most consequential events of the 20th century, Normandy landing. The Normandy landing, universally known as D-Day, was one of the most consequential events of the 20th century. This operation was, without a doubt, a decisive turning point of World War II. A moment that fundamentally shifted the balance of power and defined the war's final outcome. We're going to explore not just what happened, but why it was necessary and how it was executed, and finally its lasting impact. By 1944, the war had been raging for years, and while the Soviet Union was fighting ferociously in the East, the Western Allies needed a foothold. The landings represents the first major Allies invasion of mainland Europe. This was the moment the Allies opened a crucial second front against Nazi Germany, which ultimately sealed their fate. The question then is, why Normandy? We can break the strategic reasoning down into 4 key points, as illustrated on the map of German-occupied Europe. German occupation. By 1944, Germany controlled most of the Europe, and the Allies had to find a way to penetrate this vast defense network. Next, the need for breakthrough. The Allies needed to open a Western front to relieve pressure on the Soviet Union and begin the advance into Germany from the West. Third was vulnerability. Intelligence suggested that the Normandy coast was less defended compared to other coasts, particularly Pas-de-Calais, another region around Normandy. Finally, it was the perfect spot. Normandy offered suitable coasts for landing and was within range of air cover from Great Britain. The sheer scale of operation is staggering. The number you see on the screen, 156,115, is the number of troops involved in D-Day invasion. This was a massive coordination on an unprecedented scale across land, sea, and air. The Normandy landing remains the largest amphibious invasion in history. It was a multinational effort, primarily consisting of forces from 3 major Allied nations: US troops, British troops, and Canadian troops. It truly was a combined force working toward a single but critical objective. The battle was fought in the region of Normandy, France, and here's the number of Normandy. The D-Day invasion was executed across 5 sectors, which we now know as 5 landing coasts. Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Seoul. Before any troops hit the coast, the Allies executed a brilliant and elaborate deception campaign called Operation Fortitude. This massive operation was aimed to deceive Germany into expecting forced invasion at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. This involved creating a fake army group, inflatable tank like the one pictured, forced radio traffic, and carefully controlled double agents. The result? The operation was successful, playing a crucial role in the Allies' invasion by causing Hitler to hold back his army divisions in other regions. The invasion itself unfolded in 5 carefully planned phases. Phase 1 involved paratroopers dropped to secure critical objects like bridges or key roads. Phase 2 was followed by powerful air and naval bombardments to weaken defenses. Phase 3 was the main event, the invasion on 5 coasts, with the ground forces assaulting the German defenses. Phase 4 was Allied aircraft-supported ground forces to push inland. Finally, Phase 5 was to occupy enemy forces, break out of Normandy, and advance into France. The Normandy landing was a brutal fight, but the results were undeniable and irreversible. It was a victory as Allies secured Normandy, establishing the vital foothold. This led to the liberation of Paris in August 1944. The operation significantly undermined German military forces, making the beginning of the end of the World War II. In conclusion, the Normandy landings were a historic turning point. This massive undertaking, with its strategic brilliance and immense human sacrifice, enabled the liberation of Western Europe. The operation is remembered as a fight for freedom and democracy. It was a fight to create a world that can sustain with happiness. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
Are there some lessons that we can learn through Normandy?
I believe there are lots of lessons we can learn from Normandy, but the foremost thing we should take away from this topic is that we should have a passion to protect freedom and democracy like the soldiers who fought in Normandy.
Thank you.
Next person.
Hello everyone, my name is Colin Park. Louis, have you heard about Gucci?
Yes.
Gucci is worldwide popular fashion brand in fashion industry. But recently, Gucci has lost its former prestige. Then why? Here are the contents. First of all, we will look for past and present stock prices. And then we will observe 2 main causes. So here are the graphs of 3 typical companies in fashion industry: Kering, LVMH, and Hermes. All the companies experienced economic recession, but Kering's share prices, a holding company of Gucci, dropped to more than half of its original prices. So this problem has two reasons. The first reason is discrepancy between target market and marketing strategy. Fundamentally, luxury fashion brands such as Chanel, Hermes, or Prada were made for above 30 to 40 years old wealthy people. So as we look at previous collections of Gucci, it seemed more focusing on middle-aged consumer than young generations. Conversely, current Gucci aim to 20 to 30 customers, so they break out outdated trends. It seems superficially okay, but the real problem is young generations, so-called Gen Zs, are economically unstable. In the last few years, we experienced tremendous plague, COVID-19, so they are not capable to buy this kind of expensive stuff. And another reason is absence of talented creative director. First person is Aldo Gucci, who is grandson of Guccio Gucci. He is not a creative director, but he designed a few innovative symbols. First, he designed horsebit, which is one of representative symbol of Gucci, and then he invented bamboo bag. This bag has historical background. After World War II, Gucci suffered by shortage of leather, so Aldo Gucci devised to use bamboo in handle part of the bag, and it kept popularity because of its novel design. Additionally, he designed the current logo of Gucci. The next creative director is Tom Ford. In the past, Gucci almost went to bankrupt. However, Tom Ford led to Gucci to golden age. He emphasized sexual appealing of femininity and masculinity. I want to insert his pictures of collections, but those are so inappropriate, so I cannot insert them. And next designer is Alessandro Michele, who is acclaimed as the best director throughout the Gucci's history. He pursues to combine old fashions and modern trends. Also, he pursues maximalism, so he used a lot of accessories and excessive decorations. And next person is Sabato de Sarno. In contrast of Michele, he kept Michele's fashion philosophy, but he pursued minimalism, so he excludes most of accessories in his collection. So my point is, currently Gucci, there's no star director in Gucci, so I think it affects directly the incomes and popularities of Gucci. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello everyone, my name is Hamida, and today I will introduce about the influence of social media on teenagers. This is my table of contents. First, I will talk about introduction, and second, I will talk about 3 areas that social media impact. And I have extra reason and conclusion. Do you use social media like Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube? These days, almost everyone does. Every teenager watches their phone when they walk, so also it has many accidents about texting while walking. So social media impacts on our lives, even though they are not teenagers. So I will talk about 3 influences of social media on for teenagers. First is mental health. Many young people experience anxiety, depression, and high level of stress because of social media. That they often compare themselves to influencers or celebrities and feel like their own lives are not good enough. This can lower their self-esteem and make them feel lonely or sad. Over time, these feelings can lead to serious mental health problems. Second is physical health. Teenagers often stay up late watching YouTube video or scrolling through Instagram reels. This makes them lose sleep and can even cause sleep disorders. When they do not sleep, it is harder for them to focus on their class, and their grades can drop. In addition, staring at a screen many hours can hurt their eyes and cause headache or neck pain. Lastly, using social media for too many hours every day can affect their brain development, especially for young people. Studies show that heavy use of social media can reduce attention span and make it harder to concentrate. This means you might find it difficult to read a book or listen to a teacher for a long time. It can also lead to addiction-like behavior, where people feel uncomfortable when they are not at their phones. Some people even check their phones every few minutes, even when they know there are no new messages. I have an extra reason. Social media, especially social network service called SNS, influence teenagers and they use it every day. So some countries make laws. For example, Australia prohibits SNS until 16 years old. So Meta, who makes Instagram, took actions to prevent teenagers from watching their phones many times. But Turkey and Norway strengthened law that under the age of 13 couldn't use their social media. So I hope the teenagers don't use social media, but when they use social media, then they have to use it very carefully and helpfully. Thank you for listening. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Min-Jun Park. Today, I would like to talk about how the establishment of the United States and South Korea represent their greatest national successes. Here is table of content. I will explain their founding stories and I will compare their establishments and conclusion. There is an old saying that where it begun is half done. No matter what we do, the beginning is the most important part of entire success. For this reason, I believe that successful beginning is one of the greatest achievements of everything. The United States achieved many remarkable successes in history, like technological innovation, global leadership, and economic growth. I believe that these achievements came from a strong foundation that values freedom and democracy most. And it led to America's greatest achievements in history. Following this example, South Korea emulated the US foundation and established its nation on the principle of liberal democracy. This emulation became one of South Korea's greatest achievements because it enabled the nation to influence the world culturally, economically, and technologically. Therefore, the founding of the United States and South Korea as liberal democracies represent their greatest national successes. Let's move on. United States founding story. The story began with the Pilgrims who left England and crossed the Atlantic Ocean on the Mayflower to protect their religious freedom. However, for decades, they were under British colonization, which affected their economic activities and liberties, with high taxation and strict control, and after that, the Revolutionary War began. On July 4th, 1776, Americans proclaimed their independence through the Declaration of Independence. They emphasized that all men are created equal and God-given rights, and their important values, which is individual rights, the rule of law, and civil liberties. And they founded the United States eventually. It's a great story, right? But let's move on. Joseon Dynasty before the Korea. The story began from bad situation. Korea experienced cultural and technological stagnation, and also they maintained strong class system that enslaved their people, not other countries' people, and it restricted individuals' freedom and rights. In 1905, Joseon and Japan made the Ulsa Treaty, and it restricted Korea's freedom, and the Japanese colonization period started that time. And with the colonization period, Korean independence activists started to work hard to establish a new nation that valued freedom and human rights. In 1919, the Philadelphia Korean Congress, the first Korean Congress began, and Korean independence activists showed that they emulated the US freedom and democracy. After World War II, the Korea was liberated from Japanese colonization. However, Korea was placed under the trusteeship of the United States and the Soviet Union. And the country was divided into two religions, South Korea and North Korea. And this division led to a conflict between liberal democracy in South Korea and communism in North Korea. Many communists attacked South Korea people to adopt communism. So to protect their freedom they gained from World War II and Japanese colonization, under the US trusteeship, South Korea defended itself from communist influence, and finally they achieved true independence by establishing the Republic of Korea on August 5th, 1948. Let's compare both foundations. Both nations experienced periods of colonial rule. The US was under British and South Korea under Japan. And they declared their independence in a symbolically important place, which is Philadelphia. There are many similarities and differences between the founding of the United States and South Korea. Both nations fought for freedom and democracy. However, here is a significant difference. The United States was founded mainly for religious freedom and independence, but South Korea's goal was defending freedom from communism. They were faced attacks from now North Korea, and they have to and they must protect their freedom they gained from Japanese colonial rule. Even though they have established liberal democracy for different reasons, in detail, their devotion to protect individual freedom, human rights, and democracy remains from today. We are living in the society that ruined the true value of freedom, and it is our turn to protect our freedom and democracy in this world. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jongno-gu, and today I will talk about cashless society. This is my presentation's table of contents. First is introduction, and next is cashless society, and last is conclusion. Do you know about the cashless society? These days, almost everyone uses credit card to pay. Therefore, some people think that cash is not necessary for society. So they assert the cashless society. Simply, a cashless society is a society that does not use cash. Cashless society's dictionary definition is this. A cashless society is an economic system where all financial transactions are conducted electronically, eliminating the use of physical cash. The main reason why people assert the cashless society are an inconvenient way to pay, and it is too old way and require a lot of money to make. For example, cash is heavier than a card, so it is very inconvenient to use a mobile, and it can be damaged, so the government should make cash continuous. However, there are some people who disagree with the cashless society. The reason why people disagree with the cashless society are to prevent overspending, and some people can use only cash to pay and save from card scheming. For example, cash is very useful for checking your remaining money, so it helps to prevent overspending. And cash is very old, therefore everyone can use the cash for paying. However, another way of paying was made not long ago. Therefore, some people cannot use that. And these days, there is a lot of card scheming. However, the cash is free from that. Surely, a cashless society has advantage and disadvantage. Firstly, a cashless society's advantage are credit cards are very convenient and the government can save money. Because credit cards are very light and the government must not make money. Secondly, a cashless society disadvantage is that a cash card is not good at checking your remaining money, and cards are not friendly to old people, and cash is safety from stealing and card scheming. This is my conclusion. A cashless society is created for convenience and efficiency. However, there are some problems such as card scheming. Therefore, I don't believe we need a cashless society yet. Thank you for listening my presentation. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Young Park, and today I'm talking about social media addiction and its negative effects on adolescents. Here's my table of contents. I'll introduce why this topic is important and the 3 problems of internet addiction and the conclusion. Lumi, have you ever used social media?
Yes.
Yes, nobody's surprised. And that's not surprising. According to statistics, there are more than 5 billion social media users. And especially for adolescents, 95% of adolescents have used social media. Then, why do adolescents use social media more than adults? Because of provocative content, and it create addiction. So they use social media more. And there are 3 negative effects of it. First one is academic problem, and brain ability problem, and psychological problem. The first problem is academic problem, which means mind wandering. There are positive correlations between social media addiction and mind wandering. As I mentioned, there are too many provocative contents in social media, so they are designed to get attention in quick time, which means it destroys our dopamine rewarding system. Then we cannot concentrate it in something in long span. Then we cannot concentrate it on our classes. Then it would be connected to the poor grade, and eventually it would be connected to academic burnout. And also, not for dopamine rewarding system, there are another brain ability problem, which is white matter. Before understanding this problem, we should know what gray matters and white matters are. Gray matters are literally gray substance in our central nervous system, which includes our brain and spine. And its main role is to thinking, for example, data processing or recognizing something or learning something. And white matter is support those gray matters, which means deliver information between gray matters and connect every of gray matters. And it is more like to communication network for gray matters. Then the problem is there is negative correlation between IAT score and regional white matter volume. IAT score is Internet Addiction Tendency Score, which is survey-based score that assess research participants' internet addiction. Then, as the graph shows, it is a little bit cut. The horizontal axis is IAT score, and vertical axis is white matter volume. As this line shows, when participants has higher IAT score, they tends to get a lower white matter volume. And lastly, there are psychological problems, especially social comparison. There are many many psychological problems of addiction to social media, such as insomnia or anxiety, depression, etc. But the most significant issue is social comparison, which means comparing exaggerated life and the real life of the user. Many people usually upload their highlight of their life and shiniest moment of their life in social media. But it is much cooler than our real life. So many people get depressed by this gap between social media's life and our real life, even though the social media uploader also have similar life out with us. Then it can arouse many depressive disease, depression, yes. And yes, there are many negative effects on addiction to the social media. Then what should we do? As the WCS students, firstly, we have to follow the school's rule, which is doing not social media at all. Then, how about after the graduation? After the graduation, is it okay to freely use social media, or like is it okay to addicted to social media? Not at all. As I mentioned, the white matter, the brain development is continued to later of 20s, not end of the adolescence. Then we should to control it, not just cut in everything. And the last thing I want to say that do not be controlled by social media, and do control the social media. And that's all of my presentation. And do you have any questions? Yes.
So do you have social media?
I have it, but I deleted after the school. Like, detective. Who suggested it?
You got caught and somebody suggested that you delete your account? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you.